So, what is up, everybody? It is Joe here. It is Friday, the 24th of April. We are in the 25th day of my COVID campaign for financial awareness. Happy Friday. Doesn't feel like Friday, but happy Friday anyway. So I hope you are doing well. I hope quarantine's going on well. I hope you are enjoying yourself, and hopefully the weather will continue to warm up a little bit so we can open up the windows, make our trips outside to go for a walk, let off a little steam while we're isolating and social distancing and keeping to ourselves and the people around us. So I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're not going too stir crazy like I am, but let's make sure that we're still continuing on with the guidelines, social distancing, isolate yourself. Let's keep flattening this curve and get out into the public when we should be, when we have almost or beaten this coronavirus. And I'm looking forward to that day big time. So, today I want to talk about debt. Debt. If there's anything that this coronavirus and this terrible pandemic situation has proven to us in the past month or so, is that people are loaded with debt, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. It's actually causing huge problems for individuals on a monthly basis. So if you look at the $2,000 that the government is giving people to handle their bills on a monthly basis, that is actually sufficient in my mind. Where it is not sufficient is have overextended your budget, and where it becomes an overextension of your budget if you actually have mountains of debt payments on a regular basis coming out. So people need to get their debt under control. That's why it's step 2 of the relevant retirement system. Step 1 being budget, step 2 being debt. I want people to understand how important it is to be debt free and actually focus on being debt free for life. So I'm going to jump into step 2 of the relevant retirement system and explain why getting out of debt is so very important. And my next posts are going to be talking about the snowball method, where I use the snowball method to help people get out of debt and show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It all just takes heart, courage, and determination. But first things first, as we do every day, let's take a look at the markets and see what they're up to. Like yesterday, we are in slight gain mode, not much going on, and the reason being is this. There's a lot of ifs and ands about the price of oil as it starts to flatten out, and they talk about reopening the country and reopening the world, essentially. So the price of oil is steadied a bit, so then now you're not seeing sharp declines and sharp increases because of a sharp decline with the price of oil. What we're also seeing is what's going to happen with the markets as we start to reopen. What's going to happen basically is that once we reopen, we're going to start to see the companies that are actually floundering because of what just happened with the coronavirus. So we have yet to see the full financial impact of it. And in fact, we may or may not see that for many years. What we do need to understand is that the immediate financial impact has shown itself, and then the short-term financial impact will show itself once we reopen. We're going to start to see people that haven't laid people off during the crisis that may lay people off in the future, or places that are scheduled to reopen that just don't reopen. And that is my greatest fear, that certain businesses and industries just won't come back after this. So what we need to do is actually mind our P's and Q's and just chill out, see what happens with this. Again, it's not a bad time to get in, and the reason being is because we need to get in and actually have a long-term outlook and make sure that we're doing things the right way. Instead of shifting down in aggressiveness, we're shifting up in aggressiveness. Only reason being is because we already are down right now. So we need to make sure that we're not buying high and selling low. We're buying low and selling high. And I want people to understand that patience is the name of the game here. Patience is huge. Don't get in now thinking you're going to make a quick buck. Get in now thinking that this recovery could take a year or so, and during that time, if you're patient, you will make gains. The market will go back to where it was. It's just a matter of when, not if. So, again, small gains today. Where oil is steadying itself. We're starting to see that the companies are actually, or the countries that handle most of the oil production in the world are getting together and trying to figure this out. So that's a positive sign. So I want people, again, to chill out, make sure that we're not making drastic moves with their investments. And if you want someone to take a look at it, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy. Again, apply for your CERB benefit, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. This is the $2,000 a month that you could get. It's an extension of the EI program, so you have to apply every month. But here's the X factor. There is tax. I keep reiterating that point. You will be taxed next year when it comes down to tax time, and you need to make sure that you are actually putting some money away for taxes if you can at this point, or when you get back to work, you're planning for that taxable burden that you're going to have later in life, or later next year, or early next year, later after the program starts. So I would bank on 15%, so of $2,000, roughly $300 of it put away for tax, and in that position, you'll be ready for the tax gain that you have next year. Again, we're downloading the combo expenses worksheet. This is my worksheet that helps people with their monthly budgets. It helps me get organized. I use it with my clients on a regular basis. It is the worksheet that will help you get your budget organized and be ready to take steps like paying off debt, investing, buying insurance, paying off your home early. These are all the things I practice and preach, so I want people to get involved with it. So that is the combo expenses worksheet. So what we're going to look at is step 2 of the relevant retirement system, debt. Now, the one thing about debt I want people to understand is that debt is become part of our life. People have actually started to live with debt so much that they don't know what it's like to live without debt. And I want people to understand that being debt-free is a mission that you should have in life. It's also a mission that you should have for the rest of your life. So I'm going to go through this post and talk about what being debt-free means to your retirement and your future. So, you will never retire relevantly if you do not make being debt-free a priority. This is a concept. This is not my exclusive concept. This is just a fact. It's a widely held industry standard by gurus all across the financial industry that having consumer debt and having other forms of debt piled on your monthly budget is detrimental to you retiring on time or even comfortably ever. There's no greater effect holding back the middle class of our society from achieving their financial goals than debt. And this is what I say on a regular basis. The middle class is hampered by one thing and one thing only. It's not the government. It's not taxes. It's not their workplace. It's debt. It's the fact that we all allow ourselves to be overtaken by debt, and then it therefore hurts our monthly budget. We can't scale back our payments because we owe these obligations on a monthly basis. So what we do is keep tacking on more and more and more debt, and it makes our modest incomes even more modest. And sometimes it makes a very good income modest. And this is where we have huge problems, is when people actually make great incomes and yet they're strapped every month. I know people that make $100,000 a year and they can't afford to pay their bills. Why is that? It's because they have too many debt payments or too many miscellaneous payments coming out on a monthly basis. And this is a huge thing that is very common in our society. Debt ruins friendships, it ruins relationships. Marriages fall apart mainly because of money reasons, and debt is a huge factor in that. 70% of marriages that end because of financial worries. 50% of all marriages end. So what does that tell you? That means that around 30% of marriages, any marriage, even ones that succeed, end because of money. So look at you and look at the couple next to you and look at the couple next to them. 1 in 3 of those couples is actually going to get divorced because of money reasons. And debt is a huge factor in that. It's the black sheep of the financial world. There's a whole industry that allows people to acquire more and more debt. They make tons of money, and what these lenders have actually realized is that they can make more money off your debt than they can off of your success. Investment MER are basically expense ratios, so this is what you pay to be invested. It ranges around from 1 to 3%, usually in the 2% range, and this is for mutual funds. 2% when they can actually charge you 7, 8, 9, 10, upwards of 20 to 30% on your consumer debt. They've realized that that is more profitable to them than you actually having money. Massive, massive issue. So what I want people to understand is that debt freedom should be a lifelong priority. In order to retire relevantly, you must hold being debt-free as a top financial priority. Over the past few decades, this mantra has slipped into the abyss. Phrases like, if you aren't in debt, you aren't living, or there is good debt and bad debt. These have been brought on by people who actually don't understand what it takes to retire on top. There is no such thing as good debt and bad debt. There's bad debt and worse debt. If you are not in debt, you aren't living. That's a bullshit statement in my opinion. You don't need to be in debt to live. And in fact, if you are in debt, your chances are you're not living the way you want to live. So that is not true. So I came up with 3 root causes of why debt is so common in our culture. Number one, society. This means the lending institutions and the banks. They have made acquiring debt easier and easier. And if you are like me, you're getting notices all the time saying, want to up your credit card limit, or get a line of credit, or attach a line of credit to your home, or get overdraft protection. I get asked to get overdraft protection all the time, even though I have a good amount of money in my bank account. I don't need the overdraft protection. My cash is my overdraft. Yet they still ask me to get overdraft all the time. Very odd, right? So why do you think they keep raising your credit limit, even if you don't have a balance on it? If you have a zero balance and you have a 10K limit on it, why are they raising it to 15? You're obviously not using that card. You're not going to max it out. Why do you think they offer overdraft protection when you have 10,000 in your checking account like I do? Why would they offer that? There's no point to that. I'm not going to use that overdraft. Why do you think they keep doing that, though? They do that so they could shave a portion of your income every month at life at ridiculous, they can shave a portion of your income every month at ridiculous interest rates, giving you the privilege of being in debt. Every time you dip into overdraft, you're going to pay a fee, $40 fee, whatever it may be. Every time you use your credit card, you're going to pay a fee in terms of interest if you carry your balance. So they're doing this because they figured the money that you make on a monthly basis, it gets eroded by taxes, it gets eroded by fees, it gets eroded by bills. They could shave off a percentage of your money every month in fees and interest rate. And that's what they've realized, that you have money coming in, that money is getting shaved right off the top and going into the hands of the bank. There's a troubling statistic that I saw, that the major banks in Canada make $7 million a day off fees alone. Just fees. $7 million a day. That is insane. This is your $3 wrong ATM fee. This is your overdraft fee. This is your transfer out of your account fee that you only get one transaction on. These are just bank fees. Basically free money. $7 million a day. That's insane. So that's society, meaning the banks and the lending institutions. Society as well, in terms of media, celebrities, and big business. They've glamorized consumerism. They have made it so you must have the new gadget. You must have the new outfit. You must have the new hairstyle. Think of this. Hair salons and barbershops have been closed for a month, and people are starting to lose their mind in terms of that. People in the States are actually protesting, saying, I want to go to my barber. Look at the shag I got right now. I need a haircut. But at the same time, it's quarantine time. We'll figure it out. This is the least of my worries right now, my hair. So people are actually losing their mind because an image has been brought upon them of where they need to get this and they need to get that. You must get that car, or you've earned that trip. You deserve to live that way. You aren't fun unless you're drinking expensive cocktails or eating pricey meals at a fancy restaurant. You're not good looking unless you have the right hair or the right shirt. You're not happy unless you can take a photo of yourself being happy somewhere else, usually in an exotic location. So these ideas have been brought upon us that living modestly is now not glamorous. Living like someone else is glamorous. And you see, the big thing with people, it's like they go to a concert and they'll film it. It's like, you're there listening. Why are you filming it? You paid to listen. Instead, you're putting on your phone. You're not paying attention. Your phone is paying attention for you. That's the problem. We're not experiencing things anymore. What we're doing is glamorizing things instead of experiencing things. And that's a huge issue with our society that's going on right now. A lot of it's built on media culture, and media culture is actually brought into consumerism as a glamorous thing. And if you look online, the commercials, or on TV, the commercials that come up, buying this new gadget, doing this new thing, spending money that you don't have is commonplace, and people seem to glamorize it all the time. And the last thing I mentioned is that we're ignorant. We're stupid and ignorant because we fell for it. We took our lack of financial literacy, thanks to a public education system that doesn't teach us financial literacy, and our desire to fit in, and we made a life of debt-ridden nonsense. We know acquiring debt is bad, and we did it anyway. It's no one's fault. We did it. We have no one to blame but ourselves, but although the trap was set, we walked into it, and no one forced us. No one forces you to spend money on your credit card. No one forces you to buy clothes you can't afford, or go on a trip that you didn't save up for, or buy a car that's out of your price range, or buy a house that's out of your price range. No one forced you to do that. I know people that actually buy $500,000 homes, and there's just 2 or 1 of them. Why did you do that? You need that much room? They do not, but they glamorized it. So this is why I feel we must hate debt. We got to flip the script, and that's why paying off debt is more of a mentality, and living debt free is more of a mentality, and it's about the numbers. I don't care how much debt you have, you can get out of it. There's a way to get out of debt. The problem is if you're not mentally ready to get out of debt, just like if you're not mentally ready to quit smoking, then you're never going to do it. So I try to get people into the mentality of this is an exciting, fun thing to pay off debt and get out of debt. Because I know not having those payments on a monthly basis is fun. You need to create a monthly surplus, and you cannot do that if a large portion of your money is going towards debt. So my system says that you need to get your current debts to zero ASAP, right away. So the mentality, the priorities, the strategy. If you have debt, there's a whole other obligation. You must make it priority one, become debt free. All other non-mortgage debt must be paid off in 3 years. So everything excluding your mortgage. You must take this step seriously so all other money priorities take a back seat. I refer to the Dave Ramsey 7 baby steps for this task. Dave has helped thousands, if not millions of people get on track financially, including myself. Step 2 of the Dave Ramsey baby steps is paying off all debt using the debt snowball method. So, I choose 3 years for the specific reason. There are very few instances where you cannot get rid of your debt in 3 years maximum. How do I know this? Your debt level is predicated, for the most part, on how much income you make. So what this means is you usually cannot borrow more money unless you make a certain amount of income. They're not offering people who make $30,000 a year $200,000 lines of credit. They will not give you that. They will give you a $10,000 line of credit. So why this matters is that no matter what debt level or income level you're at, you will need to sacrifice to get out of your debt. The more debt you have, the more money you will have to make and somehow get rid of the debt. In my experience, there's no level of debt that cannot be eliminated in 3 years or less if you work hard and sacrifice. If you feel there's an exception and you cannot do it, feel free to message me. We could discuss it and figure that out. Let's talk about the debt snowball method. There are many ways to attack debt, but the debt snowball method is, in my opinion, the best one. It's tried and true. There's the avalanche where you're paying off highest interest first. There's ones where you're paying off the biggest debt first, getting rid of that. The debt snowball method, in my opinion, is the best. The reason why is simple: momentum and mentality. The debt snowball helps you build momentum through the very nature of it. Debts get arranged from smallest balance to largest balance. The smallest one will be attacked first. After you determine what you can put towards your debt every month, and this is done using a budget, and that's why budget is step 1 of the relevant retirement system, you figure out what you can dedicate every month to debt repayment. And then you use that amount to pay off the minimums of your debts every month, and the excess will go to the smallest debt. Oftentimes people have small debts like $300, $400, $500 with their utility company or something like this. Those would be the smallest ones. The biggest debts they have are often credit cards, lines of credit, or even student debt. So those ones will be the last ones. So you're going to apply that to the smallest debt. Once that's paid off, you take that excess number plus the minimum payment of that smallest debt and you apply it to the next smallest debt, and so on and so on. So your money amount every month that you can put towards debt, let's just call it $600, it's paying all the minimums and the excess is going towards the smallest, and then so on once that's paid off, and then so on until that's paid off, until you're left with one debt, usually the largest debt, and that all that money will go towards that one debt and help knock that out as quick as possible. The reason why this is an important method and why I think it's the best method is because it builds confidence. As you're knocking out debt after debt and you knock out minimum payment after minimum payment, once you pay off a debt, there's no more minimum payment. Now you have one less burden, one less minimum payment, one less thing in your regular life that has coming out of your bank account on a regular basis. It's that momentum that makes you feel good. You've accomplished something. Even if it only takes 2 months to pay off the $300 utility bill that you owe, now you don't have that anymore, and you don't owe Hydro anymore. You don't owe that back payment to Rogers Cable anymore. That feels good. It's the momentum and it's the determination that you have that will make you feel good. It's like working out. When you start to see results, you want to work out more to maintain the muscles that you have, as opposed to letting it slide because you've seen no results. And that's the hardest part with debt, is that it often can take a long time. And when you don't see results, you fall victim to not continuing on with it because it feels overwhelming and you can't do it. So control your triggers. So I spoke about the right mentality to get debt free and to stay debt free. There are debt triggers all around us. We know about financial institutions that don't care about you, or large companies trying to get you to buy their stuff on a regular basis. We also need to understand there's emotional triggers around us, including in the form of family and friends. We must take control of the people around us and let them understand that we are actually trying to get out of debt or live a different type of life. And this might mean having to say no to things that you do on a regular basis. So controlling your debt triggers is a massive one. Oftentimes that's consumerism. Oftentimes it's friends or family. Oftentimes it's both combined into one. Could be pricey dinners, could be fancy drinks at a local bar or a local restaurant. You have to control your budget so that debt does not affect you and your friends cannot affect you. Sometimes it may mean losing friends. But at the same time, if your friends understand that you're going through this and they still aren't willing to be your friend while you're trying to pay off debt, chances are they weren't really your friend to begin with. Your mom was right about that. So maybe suggest they take up learning about finance. Maybe help them on their journey and you could work together. But if you do not control the negative money influences in your life, you are the only one to blame. You cannot blame the people around you and you can't blame anyone else. You need to take control. And in fact, if you don't take control, you're to blame. So if you don't eliminate the bad money triggers around you, it's not their fault, it's your fault. So that is on you. And I've included this post, 9 financially toxic people to avoid. I'll be tagging it in here. 9 financially toxic people to avoid. These are big trigger people that will influence you in your life on your quest to be debt free. And you need to make sure you get rid of those. So debt no-nos. Make sure you're not doing the debt no-nos. These are the toxic debt things that you can do to make your situation worse. Payday loans. These things should be illegal. I don't know why they aren't. 400%, 300% interest. Like, are you kidding me? It's legalized loan sharking, and it's brutal. And if you get in the payday loan cycle, oftentimes you cannot get out of it. So if you're in the payday loan cycle, get out of the payday loan cycle. If you need money, do anything but take out a payday loan, please. These places should not exist. If I were in charge, they would be illegal in a day. That would be my first objective. HELOCs, home equity lines of credit. The goal of your home, and I mentioned this before, step 3 of the relevant retirement system, is to actually own your home. Interest-only payments do not help you do that. So a home equity line of credit, there's very few people I know that this is actually a useful product for. So make sure that you are not falling victim to the home equity line of credit trap, meaning that you're only paying interest on your home and not knocking out the principal. And in fact, you don't need access to that amount of money. Why do you need access to $250,000, $150,000, $100,000? Why do you need access to that? You do not. Keep your home what it is, a big piggy bank, not a big line of credit. That's important. Department store credit cards, 29% interest. Oh, if you buy this using my Walmart card, you save 5%. But now you have a credit card with a balance on it that you have to pay off. Don't fall victim to these cards. These cards have absurd interest rates. They don't provide much benefit to you. There's no reason to actually have these cards. Don't get department store cards. I don't care what they say. Right now, online shopping. Online shopping is a huge thing. People are at home right now, bored out of their mind, and they're ordering online. I've ordered a bit online for my home office, but I did that with a gift card that I was given. For me, online shopping has become very common. If you live in an apartment building like I do, you walk past other people's apartments and you see packages lined out in the hall. Do not fall victim to online shopping. You don't need to actually get all these things. If it's an essential and it's delivered to your house, that's fine. But there's no reason to buy new outfits every week or new pairs of shoes or new gadgets that you don't really need. Make sure you're not a victim of online shopping. Debt consolidation loans. Dave Ramsey calls it debt consolidation loan, emphasis on CON. These loans are oftentimes what they do is they take all your debt, bundle into one, and then stretch it out. So in fact, you're paying more interest in the long run. Whereas if you actually focused on getting rid of the debt and being gazelle strength, like Dave says, you could get rid of that debt quicker than if you put in a consolidation loan. Oftentimes, they're not open loans either, so you have a fixed payment that is locked in and you can't pay more towards it. These loans will stretch out and you pay your minimum payment or your payment, whatever it may be, and you end up paying more interest. So they give you the convenience of having one payment, but then the inconvenience of paying more over time. And that, to me, is not worthwhile. If you actually use your gazelle strength and gazelle ability, speed, and intensity to actually get rid of your debts, the consolidation loan is not needed. That's a huge thing. Included in this post, are you addicted to debt? It's a post that I wrote a while back, so check that out if you think you're addicted to debt. The big thing about debt too is the negative effects of reverse compound interest. So we make interest off of money we have. We pay interest off of money we owe. That's huge. This is reverse compound interest. I talk about compound interest all the time and how it can be useful for you to reaching your goals. Reverse compound interest is the exact opposite. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. This is how the bank keeps getting richer and richer off the regular Joe. The problem is with it is that you are actually paying into something, and when you pay into something and most of it goes to interest payments, this expands the payment of it on a regular basis. So the problem with it as well is that you're actually throwing, say you choose your number as $1,000 a month to put towards your debt, only say maybe 700 or 600 of that's going towards the principal. That chunk that's all interest is actually getting compounded over time, especially if you're paying less than the interest amount per month. That is huge. So by carrying debt, you're hurting your monthly cash flow and thus hurting your future and the futures of everyone around you. It's a slow and sometimes not so slow drip of debt that eventually comes crashing down on you. And you need to make sure that reverse compound interest is not crushing you. So debt prevention, once you're debt free, there's a huge, huge thing that you need to realize is that getting debt free and staying debt free should be something that you actually pursue for the rest of your life. And this is why having the emergency fund is huge. So you will not need to go into debt to replace the furnace. You will not need to go into debt to get braces for the kids. You will not need to go into debt to fix the car. This is the emergency fund. The emergency fund protects you from debt. You save up to build the emergency fund up, and then if something happens, you use it, and then you need to pay it back. You're paying yourself back. You're lending to yourself. You're not borrowing from anyone else. That's huge. So making sure that you credit cards and lines of credit as an emergency fund. They say you should have 3 to 6 months. I agree. I would say have more. Have 1 year's emergency fund. Have all your bills being able to pay for 1 year. Right now, my bills cost about $2,000 a month total. So that means I need $24,000 in emergency savings to make sure I can pay my bills if something should happen to me. And I'm very thankful that I do have that. But if you do not have that, make that a goal of yours to work towards that. This is your protection to protect yourself from going into debt. Insurance is another important one as well. You don't want to go into debt because you get hurt, sick. I'd rather pay $20 a month for a critical illness insurance policy that will pay me out a lump sum and allow me not to go into debt when I get hurt or sick or ill. I'd rather spend that $20 knowing that I have that protection there than actually go out on a and if something does happen, I'm completely screwed. So that is huge. Adequate insurance is massive. And there's nothing that gets to people or helps people not achieve their retirement goals as detrimental to them as health reasons. Health, injury, illness during their lifetime. More people do not retire relevant because of those reasons than any other reason. So you need to make sure that your health is not a factor in you achieving your retirement goals. That's massive. So in conclusion, this is not a fun part. It's not a fun thing to talk about. Most people don't like talking about debt. They're ashamed to talk about debt. I want people to lose that stigma. We've all been in debt. We've all have certain debts in our life. We can get rid of them together if we actually work on that and make sure we're taking the steps to be debt-free forever. It's an important step. It's the most important step, in my opinion, other than the budget. Because if you can be debt-free for your lifetime and you take care of your housing, you will have an okay life. If you are debt if you have lots of debt, doesn't matter how much money you make, doesn't matter how nice of a house you have, doesn't matter how much you put in investments, debt will always be an albatross on your back that crushes you on a monthly basis. So make sure that you're taking this step seriously, and I'm including this post because I want people to know how serious I am about them being debt-free. I can't do any sort of financial planning with people if they have mass amount of debt. I just can't. There's nothing we can do. We have to get rid of the debt first. That's the most important thing. That's why it's step 2. So in this post, I'm also including Dave Ramsey's How the Debt Snowball Method Works. This is a great post to explain the debt snowball method, which I feel is the best way to actually get out of debt and focus on being debt-free. Also, I'm including this every dollar post that is on the Dave Ramsey website as well, how and why the debt snowball method works, and focus on the why it is actually the way you should go about it. And I believe it's the best way, and many others do as well. Also, I'm including my post, 9 financially toxic people to avoid. Use that, check it out, see if you can piece together the people around you that fit in this mold. Maybe you're one of them, and chances are you probably are. Maybe you're doing this to yourself and you're doing it to others. So make sure it's a good eye opener to see how everyone falls around you and where you fall on this spectrum as well. So that is my post for today, talking about debt. If you have any questions about debt or any ideas about debt that you'd like to discuss with me, feel free to shoot me a DM. Once again, let's take a look at our markets before we dip out for the day. So we are still looking at a little bit of positivity. Yes. So we've actually had a bit of more gains in the past 20 minutes since I've been talking. We're hitting up to about a 1% or a half a point in all aspects. So the TSX, Dow Jones, S&P, and NASDAQ all looking positive today. So that's good. Ending the week on a positive note. We're still down from our original, but we will not get back there right away. You need to understand that. We're in it for the long haul. We're not making drastic moves unless we have the advice of an advisor, such as myself, helping you out to make sure you're shifting the best way possible to this. So, again, apply for your CERB benefit. You have to do it every month. It's taxable. Remember that. Make sure you're applying for May to get your bills in. We're downloading the combo expenses worksheet, making sure that we got our budget on track. It's free. I give it to all my clients, and now I'm giving it to the public as well. Hundreds and hundreds of people have applied for it. It's a great resource, so use it. Also, check me out on Facebook, Budget Boss on Facebook. Almost 13,000 likes on Facebook, 13,000 followers. So lots of people from around the world, 75 countries represented. Pretty damn cool. So make sure you're checking it out on Facebook. Also, I'm on Twitter at Joe Budget Boss, as well as Instagram and IGTV. All the videos are on IGTV in the library there. They are also located on my YouTube page, every video from the 25 days thus far, next week being the final week, the last 5 videos. And if you want to look at me in a suit, go on LinkedIn and check me out there. Finally, you can actually shoot me a message or join my email list at www.budgetboss.ca/contact. So budgetboss.ca/contact. The social media websites are all at Joe Budget Boss, so make sure you're checking that out as well. So that's my post for today. I want people to have themselves a great weekend. Continue with the distancing, continue with the isolation. Only go out if you need to, and make sure that we're curve, and make sure during this time we're actually focused on getting our budget in order, getting our finances in order. I'm helping people on a daily basis, working from home, talking about insurance, mortgages, investments. I'm helping people virtually all the time. So make sure if you have questions, reach out to me, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. More than happy to help. The email is joe@budgetboss.ca. And again, the social media all over the platforms at Joe Budget Boss. So have yourself a great